I was this close to caving. I had another one of those emails staring back at me. Your price is too high. I was literally seconds away from cutting my rate in half just to land the project. My finger was hovering over the keyboard, ready to type out those words that every creative absolutely dreads. Okay, I can be flexible. But then I remembered something a former FBI hostage negotiator said. His whole philosophy is that in a life or death situation, you don't just meet in the middle. So why on earth was I about to do it over a freelance contract? A contract that was supposed to pay my rent and frankly define my worth. That one idea sent me down a rabbit hole of these strange, counterintuitive and unbelievably powerful tactics that didn't just double my freelance rate in 6 months, they completely changed how I saw my own creative work. And today I'm going to show you exactly what they are step by step. Alright, look, if you're a freelancer, a designer, a writer, any kind of creative pro, you know this feeling. That pit in your stomach. The client loves your portfolio, they are pumped about the project, everything's going great until you send the proposal, and suddenly that friendly tone just vanishes and you get that one-line email, this is a bit more than we were expecting to pay, or even worse, you just get ghosted. For years, that was my life. And it wasn't just about losing one client, it was this vicious cycle, right? Every time I lowered my price to win a job, I was telling myself a toxic story, that my work wasn't actually worth what I wanted to charge for it. It just led to burnout, resentment, and a portfolio full of half-assed projects I took just for the money, and not because I loved them. The real problem is that we're experts at our craft, but total beginners when it comes to talking about money. We've all been fed this bad advice. We're told to be reasonable, find a win-win, or to meet in the middle. But let's be honest, in a freelance negotiation, meeting in the middle usually just means the freelancer loses. The client has a budget, but you have a bottom line that pays your bills. Splitting the difference might feel fair, but it is a direct pay cut from your livelihood. This is where everything changed for me. I found this book, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Now, this guy isn't a business guru. He was the FBI's former lead international kidnapping negotiator. So he negotiated with terrorists for a living. And his whole take is that we approach negotiations completely back to front. We focus on logic, on making our case, or on proving we're worth it. But he highlights negotiation is never a battle of logic, it's a battle of emotion. It's all about human psychology. His tactics aren't about being manipulative or aggressive, they're just about understanding the person across the table from you so well that you can guide the conversation right to where you want it to go. The core idea, the one that everything else is built on, is something Voss calls tactical empathy. Now, when you hear empathy, you probably think of just being nice or agreeing with someone, and that's not what it is at all. Tactical empathy is about intentionally understanding and then saying out loud what the other person is thinking and feeling. It's not about agreeing that your price is too high, it's about understanding why they feel that way. This takes a huge mindset shift. You have to stop thinking, how do I convince them to pay my rate? And start thinking, what problem is this client really trying to solve and what kind of pressure are they under? Start thinking of yourself less like a salesperson and more like a detective. Your first job isn't to sell, it's to gather intel. When they say your price is too high, is that a real budget problem or are they just testing you to see if you'll fold? Are they worried about the risk of hiring a freelancer? Is their boss breathing down their neck about costs? The moment you switch from defending yourself to exploring their world, the whole dynamic flips. It stops being a confrontation and starts being a collaboration. You're not on opposite sides of the table anymore, you're sitting on the same side, looking at the problem together. That's the heart of the FBI mindset, and it's the key that unlocks all the tactics we're about to get into. A quick shout out though to a tool that honestly changed the way I run my freelance business. It's called Bloom.io, and yes, I use it every single day. Before Bloom, I was doing what most freelancers do, stitching together proposals in Canva, contracts in Google Docs, invoices in PayPal, scheduling in Calendly, forms in Typeform. It was a mess, right? And honestly, it showed. Clients could feel that friction. It did not scream, I'm worth $3,000. It screamed, I am trying to figure this out as I go. Now everything's in one place. Proposals, contracts, onboarding forms, scheduling, invoicing, payments, it's all built into Bloom. It's smooth, it's slick, and it makes you look legit. And when your process feels professional, clients have way more confidence in your pricing, especially if you're charging premium rates like we talk about on this channel. The best part is it replaces a whole stack of other tools like Dubsado, Bonsai, Calendly, Typeform, HelloSign, Stripe, a whole bunch of others, all for like $7 a month. And no, that's not a typo. You don't need 5 subscriptions and a degree in automation to look like a pro. You just need a clean system that works for you and is designed specifically for creative freelancers. So if you want to streamline your client workflow and actually look like the high-ticket creative that you are, check out the Bloom link that I've dropped in the description down below. My affiliate link's down there. It costs you nothing extra to check it out. They have a free trial that you can check out, and it helps support the channel. Thank you. This is the first tactic I actually ever used, and it's so simple it feels like cheating. It's called mirroring, and you just repeat the last 1 to 3 important words your counterpart said, but you say it like a question. Let me show you the difference. So here's how I used to handle this. Wow, your proposal's a bit higher than we were expecting. Oh, okay, well, I have some flexibility. I could probably knock about 20% off if that helps it get into budget for you. Just like that, I flushed 20% of my income down the drain without even knowing what their budget is, or what a bit higher even means. I just panicked. Now, here's the new way of doing it using mirroring. Wow, your proposal's a bit higher than we were expecting. Higher than you were expecting? And then you do the hardest thing you can possibly do in a negotiation. You shut up. You stay quiet. You just pause. What happens next is pure magic. 9 times out of 10, the client starts talking. They fill that uncomfortable silence by explaining themselves. They'll say something like, yeah, look, we were expecting something a little closer to $3,000 because that's what's left in our marketing budget for the quarter. Boom! In 2 seconds, with just 4 words, you've gone from vague complaints to a hard piece of intel. You know their exact budget constraint. You haven't offered a discount. You haven't defended your price. You just turned their own words back on them, and they handed you the keys to the kingdom. Mirroring works because it makes the other person feel heard. It subtly nudges them to keep talking, revealing more and more about what they want, what they're afraid of, and what's really motivating them. It's the easiest way to gather information while giving up nothing. Okay, so once you start mirroring, you're going to be gathering a lot of information. The next step is to use that info to build trust and kill any tension in the room. You do this with 2 connected tactics, labeling and the accusation audit. Labeling is just verbally calling out the other side's feelings or position. You start a sentence with a phrase like, it seems like, or it sounds like. Let's go back to our client after they've told you about their budget, and you can use a label. So it sounds like you've got a firm $3,000 budget that you have to hit, but you're also looking for a really high quality result that's going to deliver on the goals that we talked about. Magic words you're listening for in a response are, that's right. When someone says, that's right, it's a signal that they feel completely and totally understood. It creates a little bond of trust and proves that your tactical empathy is working. Now let's level this up with what Chris Voss calls an accusation audit. This is my absolute favorite tactic because it feels so gutsy, but it works every single time. Accusation audit is where you call out every negative thought, fear, or assumption the other person might have about you before they get a chance to say it. This is a killer move for that first proposal. You know what they're probably thinking when they see a high price tag. They're thinking you're expensive, maybe even arrogant. They're probably worried you're just another freelancer who'll take the money and disappear. So you say it first. In the email where you send the proposal, or right at the start of the call, you lead with this. As you look at this proposal, you're probably going to think I'm expensive. You might even feel that for this price, you could hire 2 other freelancers off of Upwork. You're probably concerned about whether a solo creative can really deliver the quality this project needs, and you might be worried about the risk of making this big of an investment. It feels terrifying to say this. It feels like you are putting bad ideas into their head. But here's the secret. Those ideas are already there. All you're doing is dragging them out into the open. By saying their fears for them, you completely disarm those fears. It shows that you get it, that you're empathetic to their position, and that you're confident enough to talk about the elephant in the corner of the room. The negative voice in their head just got neutralized because you already said everything it was going to say. It builds an insane amount of trust and makes them way more open to hearing about the value you're bringing. Okay, if mirroring is gathering intel, labeling is building trust, then calibrated questions are how you actually shape the negotiation and get the client to solve your problems for you. A calibrated question is just an open-ended question that starts with what or how. Those words are so powerful. They force the other person to stop, think, and start problem solving with you. It makes them feel like they're in control, but really you're the one steering the conversation. The absolute worst thing you can do here is ask a yes or no question like, can you approve this budget? Oh, a no to that question just slams the door shut. Instead, when a client says, this is too expensive, you don't jump to defend your price, you ask a calibrated question. Here's a classic from Chris Voss. How am I supposed to do that? Said in a respectful, almost deferential tone, this question is a game changer. It's not aggressive, it's a genuine request for their help. It makes the client stop and actually consider your position and the reality of what you do. Another powerful one taps into our need to be seen as fair. The word fair is like a psychological bomb in negotiations. So when a client is pushing back on your price, you can ask this. What about this proposal seems unfair or unreasonable? This forces them to stop saying it's too expensive and actually analyze the value you're offering versus the price. But the ultimate goal is to use these questions to pivot to a solution. Let's go back to our client with that $3,000 budget. You've mirrored and labeled, and so you know their constraint. And here's the game-changing calibrated question. How can we adjust the scope of the project to fit inside your $3,000 budget while still making sure we hit your main goal of insert their main goal here? This question is brilliant for 3 reasons. First, it shows you listened by acknowledging their budget is real. Second, it protects your value by suggesting you change the scope, not your rate. And third, it puts the ball in their court to help you figure it out. It's not about your price anymore, it's about our project. And you can even use loss aversion here. Frame a question around what they'll lose. How can we make sure the project doesn't suffer from the risk of a rush timeline if we cut the budget from the strategy phase? Now your price is directly connected to their success, making it way harder to argue against. What happened with that client? The one who sent the "your price is too high" email that started this whole thing. Instead of caving, I took a deep breath. I wrote back, "Too high? A simple mirror." He replied almost instantly. He explained they had a specific budget from their finance department and my quote was about 30% over that. Then I used a label. Sounds like you have a fixed number that you want to hit, but you're also worried about getting a quality result that will actually move the needle on your brand. Their response? That's right. I don't want to go cheap and have it fail. There was my opening. I hit him with a calibrated question. How would you like to proceed? Should we look at adjusting the scope to fit the budget you have, or would it be possible to see if additional funds could be found for the full scope that we talked about? He said he needed to think about it. The next day he came back, he'd gone to his boss, made the case for the full project, gotten the extra budget approved. I got my full rate, not a single dollar was cut. That was the first domino to fall, and I've started using these tactics every call and every email. My confidence has gone through the roof. I stopped being afraid of talking about money. I started seeing it as a process of discovery. And over the next 6 months, it wasn't a fluke. My average project rate more than doubled. But more than the money, the entire way I worked with clients changed. I wasn't just some hired hand to be squeezed on price anymore. I was a strategic partner, a trusted advisor that they looked to for help. And that transformation is priceless. This whole journey taught me that negotiation isn't some battle you have to win. It is a skill you can learn. It really boils down to 3 steps. First, use mirroring to get information without giving up anything. Second, use labeling and the accusation audit to kill the negativity and build real trust. And third, use calibrated questions to steer the conversation and get the other side to help you find a solution. Your price is not just a number. It's a reflection of your skill, your years of grinding, and the incredible value you bring to people. Stop compromising on it and start negotiating for it. If you want it, this is the book I was referencing. You can buy it on Amazon. It's Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. I'd highly recommend picking it up. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel and drop me a like if this in any way helped. Because this channel is all about helping you build a more profitable, sustainable, and frankly, more enjoyable creative business. Now, I have a question for you, and it has nothing to do with negotiation. I just want to know, what did you have for breakfast this morning? Drop it in the comments down below. It's always fun to say hi and get to know the awesome people in this community. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.